Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and if you've been a fan of my videos for a long time, which every one of you should be because I am awesome, anyway, you remember way back when the Stern Ritters first appeared in Bleach, or when their letter system, their ranking system first appeared, I had this little gag. It was like a little Stern Ritter chart to keep track of all the Stern Ritters' fun little letters and abilities. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that for a while. So anyway, let's update this sucker because, wow, we got a lot of input here. Alright, let's start off by removing Bazby from B slot, because I didn't really know he went there. Let's throw in Yuha as letter A. Alright, and let's just select all and paste. There we go, all caught up. You know, guys, I'm sorry for the delay and everything, I really am, but in all honesty, it's a lot nicer to film these at night because it's a lot more cooler in here. I don't have to worry about lights spilling in or dumbass teenagers riding their dirt bikes up the street. It's a lot more cool, I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm Tekking101, and this is Bleach chapter review number 543, entitled Letters. Yeah, I pretty much told right from the title exactly what we're going to be discussing here. Anyway, chapter starts off with back in the Vandenreich Ice Palace with Yuha Bach announcing before his legion of Stern Ritters what the big news he has for all of them. And that is that the bird is the word. Fucking had to. I fucking had to. Come on. Alright, so, no, actually the real news of the day is the fact that he's actually going to appoint his successor. Who is his successor? Well, you could have all figured out it's Uryu Ishida. Gasp! Interesting thing, though, is the side text here, which reads, Uryu, clad in a white garb. Yeah, because Uryu has never been known to wear white, ever. He, so verily, it clashes with his wardrobe. He just hates the color. What? Was that a big deal? I don't get that. Anyway, more pressing information at the moment is that Yuha announces him as the lone Quincy in this world. Now, there were a couple of other translations where it words it a little bit differently, but it all comes down to basically him referring to Uryu as the last Quincy. Now, I have a couple things to say about this. I would assume when I first read it that he just simply meant last surviving Quincy in the world of the living. But then I started thinking for a second. I'm like, okay, where did the other Stern Ritters factor into this? Like, where did they come from? Because I started thinking, like, I mean, it's very unlikely that the other Stern Ritters were just hanging out in the Soul Society or Huecamundo. Like, that's not possible. I mean, I guess you could argue they were hiding out in their special shadow dimension, but that even makes less sense. I was thinking maybe they were just hiding out in the world of living, but then I started thinking, like, you mean to tell me there were 26 Quincy's that no one ever saw, no one ever, the Soul Society never found this out. There's just 26 undercover Quincy's just hanging out in the world of the living for hundreds of years possibly, and they didn't show up until just recently, and they just joined Yuha's force. So that gets me to realize, and the fact that Yuha stated this line, that the Stern Ritters are not actually pure Quincy's, or maybe they're not Quincy's altogether. Maybe there's something completely different. And my hypothesis, anyway, for this is, remember when we were going through how Yuha became, how he regained his power, how he came back into his existence. We stated he needed 900 years to regain his heart, or his form. So that's just his body, or regain his soul, I guess, in a sense you could refer to it as that. He needed 90 years to regain his intelligence. Okay, I buy that. 9 years to regain his power. Now, you want to just assume he regained his personal power, his, reishi abilities like manipulation, blowing people's heads up from a distance, that sort of thing. But, and I started thinking, like, wait a second, Yuha's a pretty strong motherfucker just by himself, don't get me wrong, but one of his greatest, if not his greatest strength, is the fact that he commands an entire army of obedient Quincy servants that are willing to die with an honest-to-goodness smile on their face just for him. That is one of his greatest strengths, so I would imagine that would fall into the category of regaining his power, regaining his army. Maybe 1,000 years ago, he also had an army he referred to as the Stern Ritters, but that's not the point right now, what it was called. The fact remains that he announced in front of his entire army of Stern Ritters, which are supposed to be Quincy's, that this is the last Quincy. I mean, right there, it's and the Sternritters don't respond to this as well. I mean, they get mad that Uryu has announced his successor, but that's for other reasons. They never really bring up the fact of, you know, Uryu, oh, wait, what was he talking about? He's the last Quincy. I thought we were all Quincy. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying that the Sternritters are all just puppets or mannequins or just like extensions of Yuha's soul or anything like that, because they all clearly have their own personality. They all clearly have the capacity to like argue and disagree on things. They even have an option to disagree with their masters. So I'm not going so far as to say they're like puppets. I'm just saying that they might not be pure Quincy's in the sense that Uryu is. But wait, then again, Uryu isn't really a pure Quincy because his mother was half Quincy. Wait, how does that work? So wait, Ryukin was pure, Katagiri was half. So does that make him 3/4 Quincy? I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just bringing it up right now. Interesting little side note for what I noticed. That's my thoughts on that. The Sternritters, after finding out that Uryu is going to be their successor, despite the fact that he has 10 minutes of seniority in the organization, pretty much results in all of them saying, "The fuck is this guy?" I mean, even Basby, who we've all figured out was Basby like a couple months ago, but it was never confirmed. But yeah, this Mohawk Quincy's Basby, and speaks out and asks for Yuha to reconsider, which also leads me to believe like exactly how the like where does the loyalty lie in the Sternritters to Yuha? Like I understand like Yuha is insanely strong, but I mean Aizen was really strong too, and yet we still had a few Espada that were kind of disagreeing with him or turned on him at the last second. With Yuha, it's like even at the verge of their death, even after they found out that they were used by Yuha, I mean, he's still, you know, they're still very loyal to him. So the way I look at it is it's not just the fact that Yuha is an insanely powerful figure. It's also, if you really look at it, Yuha is sort of like the Christ figure of the Quincy's, like legitly. Like he was one Quincy that appeared before all others and spawned every other Quincy as their children. So essentially it's just like if Jesus Christ were to rise. I mean, I'm pretty sure all the Christians, well true Christians anyway, would be like, yeah, okay, we'll follow you, we'll listen to you. And then one day Jesus Christ is like, he just pulls some random guy aside and he's just like, this is my successor. Somebody that you've never heard of, never seen before, this guy's going to be the next Jesus. And you're just looking at him like, okay, Jesus, thank you for all you did and everything. You're awesome, but, the fuck? So I understand where the, the conflict here arises. Anyway, Basby tries to speak out for that. Wait a second, are those freaking screws and bolts in his ear? Anyway, it doesn't matter. He speaks out, but is stopped by Hashwald, or Jugo, I guess would be his first name. Alright, whatever. Anyway, I was half expecting for Yuha just to cut freaking Basby right down the freaking middle for making that display of ignorance or insubordination, but instead he simply responds with, you guys will know why I chose him when the next battle starts. So, I mean, the thing here is, we know that Uryu is a pretty strong Quincy for sure, but he's never been, like, insanely powerful. Like, yeah, he's been good enough to take out a couple of wrong cards in his day, but he got the shit kicked out of him by Sile, got the shit kicked out of him by Ukiura. I'm just saying that, I mean, at the end of the chapter we get a hint as he could be, like, unlocking his true powers, like DBZ, Gohan style, but at the moment, he's not ranking as, like, he's certainly one of the strongest one of the strongest humans in the world of Bleach, but in terms of, like, Espada scale, he's, like, pretty low. I'm just saying. Anyway, we cut to a different section of the Ice Palace, which is just a giant barren hallway. I must say that this place is actually really depressing for a headquarters. I mean, yeah, Las Noches wasn't that like an Arabian palace or anything, but hey, at least Aizen, threw a sky up for decoration and served tea at their meetings. I mean, all Yuha's got is a barren tundra wasteland, featureless castle, and a black sky. And a very tiny throne room, I think we saw at one time. And a giant meeting hall, apparently, but that's apparently it. I'm just saying, Aizen had a little bit more class. Just saying. Anyway, all the Sternritters are pretty much disagreeing of why they chose Uryu, but that's not the real point of this chapter. The real high point is learning all those cool little letters. Starting off with Sternritter-esque, Mas de Masculin, which I must remind you all is a Mexican luchador-styled character in a Nazi Germany-styled organization. My theory on this is that Kubo, when designing the Espada, which were designed after a Mexican-Spanish motif, he really, really wanted to include a Mexican luchador, but either just forgot or didn't have enough space to put him in. So he's just like, you know what, it's okay, I'll scrap the idea, I'll get it later on, and this is what we freaking got. I'm just going to assume that the S stands for strength at the moment, or strongman or something like that. Oh, by the way, I asked around on Facebook exactly what you guys thought of the numbers, or I mean the letters, and a lot of people were saying they weren't standing for any kind of, they weren't standing for anything but ranks, and that confused me because we found out, you know, back in like a couple dozen chapters ago that the letters do in fact stand for their abilities. Asnod is F for fear, Driscoll was O for overkill, so it certainly means something. So my idea on that is either it's both, it stands for rank and for their powers, which I'm a little split on that because I mean, we never really saw the Sternritters boss each other around. Like, for example, the Sternritter S, the Luchador, and Sternritter F, they were in a scene together, and if anything, Sternritter S was berating Asnot for letting his Blute slip. So it's not like there's like a hierarchy in the Quincy's in terms of, you know, like S has more of a rank than, you know, M, or, you know, a letter that comes before it. In that regard, it could also refer to something how the Espada or how the Arrancar were numbered. Remember, the Arrancar's numbers dealt with their birth order, not their strength. However, when you got up to the top 10, that's when the actual enemy, that's when the actual, you know, 10 being the weakest, well, you know, okay, 9 being the weakest, you know what I mean, and 1 being the well, 0 being the strongest, you know where I'm going with that. So maybe it's something like that with the Quincy's. Maybe their letters designate their power, but then when you get up to a certain letter, like maybe like J or G, or like one of the top higher letters, it stands for your rank and your power, something like that. Because we haven't really seen a lot of the Sternritters with the letters really high. I mean, we saw Bambita, and but you know, we didn't really see a lot of stuff with her. We saw Asnot, which could potentially be, you know, a hierarchy. We don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to call him Strongman for the moment. Next up, we have Sternritter K, BG9. BG9. Okay, that is probably the weirdest. Okay, maybe not the weirdest, but second weirdest Quincy name I've heard so far. Actually, it fits along more like a Terminator cyborg type thing than a Sternritter, any like human character. Or an android! Okay, holy crap! Alright, just bear with me on this, okay? Dr. Gero, after his defeat and death, created a legion of Dr. Gero android duplicates, each with his mind implanted in them so they could continue his research after he died. And they each slaved for dozens, if not hundreds of years to create the ultimate android that paled in comparison to all the others that he created. They eventually came up with BG9, which was actually called Android 21 at the time. It was so strong that it actually created a dimensional rift, which flung him from the DBZ universe into the Bleach universe and heavily damaged his circuits. Yuha then came across him, rebuilt him, renamed him BG9, and gave him the K spot because he's a knight. Makes a fuck of a lot more sense than the entire Fake Car Town arc. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, I'll be here all week, yeah. Yeah, I'm not even halfway done with this freaking chapter yet. I really gotta hurry this along. Okay, next up is Sternritter I, Kangdu, the one that fought against Toshiro and stole his Bankai. And I'm not really sure on him. I noticed one of his eyes is a little dark. I don't know if that's just the, you know, like a scanlation issue or the arting issue, but I'm just saying one of his eyes is dark. I don't know if it was always like that or just in this one. I don't remember it being. As for the eye, you know, I don't know. I like to play a little game called Sternritter Roulette here. I just pull out a dictionary and, you know, pull to I, and then you just hit a random thing. Just Sternritter Islam. Okay, I could make a joke about that, but okay, I'm just gonna skip that and Israelite. Okay, yeah, no, definitely not gonna make a joke about that. Okay, this was a stupid idea. Moving on. Sternritter H, Basby, which I've heard maybe would stand for healer because, remember, he's the one that got freaking scorched by Yamamoto and still managed to stand back up afterwards. But then again, I remember that also Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na, Bing Bang Bong Bing Boo also got hit by Yamamoto's Fire Blast Wave, and he was able to stand back up. I mean, we see him in this chapter just fine. So I don't know if it's going to stand for hair, for healer. I almost said hair because, you know, Mohawk. But yeah, he's certainly the most hot-tempered one. I got to give him that much. I don't know if that reflects his power. It could respond to like hothead or heat or something like that. It would make a lot more sense given his hairstyle and his fiery personality. That could certainly be a thing. Anyway, he's so pissed off about the situation that Basby is actually going to leave and go to Yuha's personal palace, I guess, to discuss this with him. Now, Basby, he doesn't actually get to there in this chapter. He actually gets stopped. But let me just ask a question, Basby. What did you think was going to happen if you actually went in front of Yuha and said, I disagree with your decision? You would be freaking deader than Kid Buu after getting slammed with the freaking planetary spirit bomb. Like, there's no way that argument would end in your favor. So I'm just puzzled by that. It led credence to believe he's hot-headed, so fiery ability. He runs into Hashwalt on his way out, which is then revealed to be Sternritter B, Jugram Hashwalt. Jugram. Okay, so we're mixing Jugo with Igaram from One Piece. Ugh. God. Anyway, Basby brings up the fact that all of the Sternritters believe that because he was the Sternritter B, and therefore the second letter in the alphabet, which we'll find out Yuha is actually letter A, that he was going to be the one to succeed Juha, which leaves a lot to believe that that's where the ranking system comes in. That's why they're ranks, because B would obviously become after A. And they were all fine with that. Apparently all the Sternritters were perfectly fine with Hashwalt succeeding Juha. We don't exactly know why yet. I mean, it could be also something involving, you know, his power. Maybe we haven't really seen a lot of what Hashwalt can do. I'm thinking B could maybe stand for Buster or Breaker, because the only time we saw Hashwalt fight was when he, you know, cut Hidetomo in half, and when he broke Ichigo's Bankai. So that's really the only credence I have for being the Breaker, but, you know, that makes sense. But I don't know if they're just afraid of his power, or, like I said, maybe he has something to do with reviving Yuha to begin with. That's why everyone thought he was going to be the successor. Apparently, he's fine with it, though. Hashwalt is perfectly okay with the Master's decision, because he's always been very calm and you know, very easygoing. To which Basby responds that if he's so fine with it, then it's fine with him being dethroned, and Basby can take the spot as Sternritter B, I guess. So, I don't know. I mean, the idea is here, I mean, Hashwalt, like, reaches for his sword, so I guess Basby has the intention to fight him right now, but is then stopped by a glowy portal thingy in the beginning of the room, in the middle of the room. I don't know. They turn and a bunch of little holes are actually open up, and it's revealed that they're actually the work of Sternritter D. Askinaklevar. Kubo, where the hell do you get these names? Like, seriously, where the hell do you get these names? Like, I mean, I know it's a German motif, but Askinaklevar. If there's any German person out there with that name, I apologize so much, because that's really just not fair. Anyway, his ability, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go with D for dimension, because apparently he has like these little bracelets or bangles or eye things on his arm, and apparently they can warp into these dimensional little, I guess what these things are. I can't really tell perfectly, but I'm guessing they're these little dimensional gateways. Another idea is doorway or doorman, which basically ripping off Blue and O from One Piece there, Kubo, so if you're going in that direction. But in the sense of, you know, a Sternritter being this high leveled, if we're going with the ranking system and the ability to, like, warp dimensions or twist dimensions, yeah, I can buy that. Also, it would make a lot of sense, and maybe he's the one that created the shadow dimension, or he's the one that created, like, the entryway to suck the Sternritters in. I can buy that, totally. He berates Basby for a little bit, stating that the Master does not want them to fight while they're inside the Ice Palace, and states that it's not a good idea anyway, because Yajima's got his eye on them. We then get a little cut to a mysterious figure who's holding a staff with an eye and kind of giggling maniacally. Not really sure what the deal is with him. We don't really know what his Sternritter designation is yet. I don't think he's one of the ones we've seen yet. In fact, the only Sternritters I don't think we've seen yet are the, I mean, we've heard the names of yet that we've seen so far are the Colonel Sanders Quincy and the Quincy that fought against Ukitake that we only saw in that one panel and never saw after the fact. Also, there's also the hooded Quincy, too. Since the hooded Sternritter was the one that appeared before Toshiro, I'm assuming that was Kane Do the entire time, so that's who I'm thinking that was. Anyway, Askin does manage to break up the fight and says that nothing will come from them fighting. So you especially will, and he states that Hashwalt especially will become nothing more than poison. But you knew that, didn't you? Next Emperor. I don't know what that represents. That could mean they're planning a coup d'etat, like maybe the Sternritters are banding together to maybe make Hashwalt the next emperor. Once again, the reason why they hold Hashwalt in such high regard, I don't know. Maybe maybe Hashwalt was like the previous leader of the Sternritter, or the leader of the Quincy before Yuha was completely revived. No idea there. Also, poison is like highlighted here, so I don't know if that's meaning that maybe the true power of Hashwalt involves poison, or maybe Askin's power stands for poison. I mean, the D could just as easily stand for death, so, yeah, I don't know there. Well, we don't know what Sternritter P is anyway, so your guess is as good as mine. Okay, so last scene of the chapter, we cut over to Yuha and Uryu in a private room where they're, I guess it's his Quincy cross being dipped in some kind of black liquid, and he states that the induction ceremony is now over and his power should begin to awaken. He also gives Uryu his script, or his letter, essentially. He will be A, and the same as Yuha. Okay, so the whole A thing makes sense in terms of ranking, and that, you know, he says, I'm going to be, Uryu's going to be his successor, so of course, he would give him the letter A. His whole power thing, awakening thing, I think it has something to do with the Quincy cross being, like, dipped in, like, that black liquid, because remember in the last chapter when all the Sternritters were marching in, like, in that meeting to see Yuha, they all raised their crosses, and all of them were black. I think the only time we've seen a cross was when Ivan used it way back in, like, when he was fighting against Ichigo, and he wasn't really a Quincy, so I think that really counts. So I think it's fair to say that if all the Quincy's have a black cross, then that might represent like something about their powers being awakened. It can also tie into the whole their Bankai sealing power. So yeah, that might have something to do with that, but certainly the ability, like their power awakening. So maybe all Quincy's have like some kind of hidden potential or hidden power, because like I said, Uryu is a strong character, but you know, Uryu versus Asnod or Basby or any of the Quincy's that have been fleshed out so far, I don't think he would win at his current level. So, yeah, certainly it should be interesting. Long chapter, and I've honestly kind of already discussed pretty much all my thoughts. Like, I analyzed the shit out of this. I mean, 9 hours at work today. You know what I did today? This is what I did on my lunch break. This is all I did. You know, I was like, I ate my lunch and then I was jotting down all these ideas. Actually, just let me go over this one more time so I know I didn't forget about anything, because at this point, you know, whatever, right? How long has this video been going on for? Oh my god, it feels like I've been down here forever. 30 minutes? Okay, it seems longer than that. Alright, we got... Okay, did that, you did that. Oh, okay. In terms of the lettering also, going back to the fact that, like the letter A and everything, the way that the Espada went, anyway, had the highest number and the lowest number have some sort of significance. Like, the number 1 was Stark, and he had a very unique release of a Zanpakuto, and he was supposedly the strongest, so he was very interesting, and my favorite Espada. And then we had Espada number 10, Yami, who turned out to be letter 0, number 0, and the strongest altogether in terms of physical power. So my thoughts on this is that A would mean the leader or Emperor Yuha, Z is also something of some significance. So whenever we get to Sternritter Z, I'm sure that's going to be some importance later on. Other than that, I think I honestly managed to cover like everything else. Yeah, wait, no, I already did that. Power, respect, DBZ reference, you sunk my battleship, unknown letter gag. Okay, I think I got actually all of it. So yeah, next chapter, I knew we weren't going to get an Ichigo's power display in this chapter, but since this one ended on such a bombshell, we might actually cut back to that, because I think Kubo really just wanted to flesh out the Sternritters more, because we have had very few of them in the past, well, really, in the past year, really. I mean, the last time we really had any kind of big revelation of the Sternritters was during the invasion, which occurred almost a year ago, guys. I mean, we're getting up there. I mean, it's almost been 100 chapters since I started reviewing the damn series. So next chapter, I think we're going to cut back to Ichigo involving the dual swords or something with that. I don't think we're going to stay with the Vonenreich, though. I don't think we're going to do that. The next invasion it's on the horizon. I mean, we had the first invasion, which we pretty much established that the Soul Society is screwed because there's no way they can fight these things off. And then we had like a good 40 chapters in between to kind of buffer and get everyone settled. Like we had to have Ichigo character development, we had to have Uryu being shown, we had to have the backstory with Misaki, backstory with there was another one. Kenpachi, we had to have the involvement of Kenpachi. So, really think about the last 40 chapters, Kubo's been cramming it in. Sounded very sexual there. But been just cramming in like all the plot exposition and knowledge, just like hyper-accelerating these characters' developments. So, I have to give Kubo some credit there, because just looking back at all the stuff that's happened, I mean, Zero Squad 2, we got development there, so Kubo, I mean, last 40 chapters, I mean, the other 40 chapter spans you've done before, like Fake Car Cartown Arc, we didn't get much development or exposition, but in this case we did, so good on you. Other than that, guys, I've been talking up here for over, half an hour here, so I'm going to cut down editing a little bit, but that's all my thoughts for the day. So yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens when I have all day to think about a chapter review. This is the stuff you get. You get a huge, hyper nitpicky episode of Tekking101. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys didn't pass out from boredom. Tekking101 signing out. See ya, everybody. and one more thing. Basby, should have gone Bonkai, bro. That meme kicked in so hard. I mean, damn, like, it's really catching on. It's really catching on. I'm just loving it. I'm loving it. Thank you, guys. You guys are freaking awesome. Okay, see ya.